Hey, I'm Abby and welcome back to the Life Work Balance YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about my 8 different tips to help you prepare to answer behavior-based or situation-based interview questions during a job interview. These tips will help you prepare your stories that you can then store in your job interview toolkit to then pull out and utilize throughout every interview that you participate in. Before we jump into that, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can continue to receive life work balance advice delivered directly to you every week. When it comes to preparing for a job interview, it is likely that you will encounter behavior-based or situation-based interview questions. Now I've got an entire playlist on how you can prepare to answer these types of questions. Maybe you're currently watching it right now. But I want to touch on how you can start to prepare these types of stories for your interview so that you ensure you are sharing information that is relevant to the job that you're applying to. The very first thing that you need to do is identify your core stories that you're going to refer to throughout the interview. By identifying these stories before the interview, you won't be left fumbling or mentally going through that mental file cabinet trying to find the right story for this type of question. So I recently posted a video on 10 different types of core stories that you can prepare before an interview. If you haven't already checked that out, please do so next. I've linked to it in the description box below. While you are reviewing the job description for the job that you're going to be interviewing for, you'll start to pick up on required knowledge, skills, abilities, tasks, competencies, etc. that are important to this job and also that you have transferable experience with. It is important that you identify some core stories from your previous experience that will help you best demonstrate how relevant you are and how qualified you are for this particular role. Now, while there are many different types of stories that you could conjure up for the interview process, I have identified, as I mentioned before, 10 different types of core stories that you likely have experience with that will help you start to brainstorm what sorts of stories you can identify for your upcoming interview. So tip number 1 is, as you're reviewing this job posting and you're preparing for your interview, start to identify your core stories. Once you have identified your core stories, you move on to tip number 2, which is use the STAR or the CAR method to organize these stories. Using the STAR and the CAR method to organize these stories prevents you from rambling, talking for minutes on end and providing irrelevant information to the interviewers. Using these methods, STAR or CAR, my preference is CAR, you will be able to strategically structure your stories to answer any type of behavior or situation-based question in a clear and concise way that fully answers the interviewer's question. If you are unsure what STAR or CAR means, I've linked to additional videos in the description box below. And as a quick overview, STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. And CAR, which again is my preference because it's a little bit shorter and in my opinion a little bit more straightforward and clear, is context, action, and result. So essentially with both of these formulas, you will be describing a situation, you'll be providing context to the interviewer. Why are you sharing the story with them? Then you will focus on the actions that you took in this situation, and then you will be sharing the results. The results is the section that you want to focus on the most. And ideally, the results are positive. If the results are not positive, then you want to focus on what you took away from this situation, what you learned, how you grew, developed, or changed. So when you're thinking about situations, for example, let's talk about a conflict situation. You don't want to focus on the biggest, worst conflict you ever experienced that never got resolved. Even though that might be one of the first things that comes to mind when you hear the word conflict, that's not the story that you should be sharing during an interview. You want to make sure that you select stories that showcase your experience, your skills, your ability to resolve conflict in a positive, helpful way. You want to take the similar approach with all of the other stories that you're going to share. Now, let's say that your situation that you choose to share doesn't have a positive outcome. You still want to focus on what was positive as a result of that outcome. What did you learn? How did you grow? What did you do to improve? How did you handle the situation more effectively the time that you encountered it next? So focus on the positive when it comes to results. My third tip is to focus on context. Context is key to answering these types of questions. You want to ensure that the story you're sharing, the story you're telling, is relevant to the job that you are applying to. Tailor the details of your story or your situation to the role that you're applying to. Ensure that you're highlighting the skills and experiences that you have that are relevant to this role. Don't pick a story or a situation that is completely unrelated to this job that you're applying to and interviewing for. Context is key. Provide context to the interviewer that gives them an idea as to why you're sharing the story with them. Why is it relevant to this particular job and this interview? My fourth tip, which I somewhat mentioned already, is to emphasize the impact. Focus on the results, essentially. Always focus on the results that you achieved and the impact of your actions. If you are able to quantify outcomes, that is fantastic. Use those quantifiable metrics in your answers to these types of questions. When you're able to quantify, you give yourself the ability to provide a very clear picture as to how your contributions had a positive impact on the role, the team, the organization, clients, products, etc. Now, my next tip is somewhat self-explanatory and has been peppered in throughout this video already, but it is to tailor your answers to these types of questions to the role that you apply to and link the stories to the job requirements. Customize each story to the job that you are applying to and that you're interviewing for. You want your experience to be clearly aligned with this role, and you do so by sharing stories that demonstrate this alignment. Explicitly link the skills and outcomes from your stories to the role. Emphasize the skills and experience that you have that is most relevant to the role. Now, once you have identified your core stories and you've started to tailor your stories to the job that you're applying to, and you're starting to use the star or the car formula to build these stories, you're going to want to practice these stories. Practice the delivery of these stories. Rehearse your stories multiple times to ensure that they are clear, concise, and compelling, and that you deliver them naturally and with confidence. To build that confidence, you can practice in front of a mirror, you can record yourself, which I know is cringeworthy for some people, but still really beneficial, or even a friend whom you trust. If you record yourself, you get bonus points, because that is the way that you can not only hear your story and hear what it sounds like to someone else, but also watch yourself. You can gather invaluable data by recording yourself giving your answers to common interview questions, because you can evaluate your body language, your tone of voice, your pace of your voice, the relevancy of your stories. You can also see how long your answers are. Are they super short, 15 seconds or less? Or are they way more in-depth and 3 minutes or more? Using a recording of yourself is a great way to ensure that you are going to be showing up as your best self. If you practice delivering these types of stories and answers to these types of questions with a friend or someone whom you trust, then that's a great opportunity to get feedback from them. Seek feedback from your peers, your friends, your mentors. Maybe even reach out to someone like me, a career coach, who can help you refine your responses to these types of questions. People whom you trust, who are close to you, like I said, friends, family members, peers, mentors, even career coaches can help you refine your delivery and improve your confidence so that when you're asked this type of question during an interview, you're sure that you're giving your most effective response. And then my final tip is to stay flexible. Be ready to adapt your stories to different questions. Be ready to adapt your stories to different contexts during the interview process. You can come up with a couple of core stories that you can then tweak and tailor to answer almost any interview question. I have a list of 52 behavior-based interview questions available for free download off of my website. And if you were to download that free resource, I am not expecting that you come up with 52 different situations and scenarios to answer each of those individual questions. You likely only need a few core stories that you can then adapt to match the question that is being asked. So if you are looking for some additional one-on-one help to help improve your answers to these common behavior-based or situational interview questions, or you would like just general help preparing for interviews, please reach out to me today. I do offer one-on-one interview strategy sessions where I can work with you through a session to identify what might be going wrong in an interview, what might be going well. I can help give you feedback on your answers to these very common interview questions, and we can even strategize questions you can ask at the end of an interview. So these sessions are valuable to my clients. If you are feeling like you need some additional help, or you've been getting interviews but you haven't been moved through the process, reach out to me today. I would love to help you strategize for your upcoming interview. I've linked to my email as well as my website in the description box below. Feel free to contact me today if you would like to set up one of those sessions. My availability is limited. My sessions fill up quickly. Reach out to me as soon as you know you have an interview coming up. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any additional questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas on how you can prepare your answers to these very common behavior-based or situation-based interview questions, please throw them in the comments box below. I love receiving comments, and I will do my best to get back to you individually. And also know that if I'm not able to get back to you quickly, your comments, your thoughts, your ideas, the things that you share in the comments below will likely help someone else who is preparing for something similar. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can continue to receive life-work balance advice delivered directly to you every week, and I'll see you next time.